Tracy Harwood. So I've done a little bit of digging around and I've discovered
Ricky Grove. Fog comes in on little cat feet.
Phil Rice. This is the best film that I've seen all year and maybe ever.
Damien Valentine. Use the machinima, Luke.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ricky Grove. I'm here with my pals Tracy Harwood, Damien Valentine, and Phil Rice, and you are watching and listening to And Now for Something Completely Machinima podcast in our 15th year, I think. I don't know, it's fourth, fifth. Anyway, we're approaching our 100th episode, which will happen in October. So stay tuned. We got something special planned for that. The last film of our September series of film reviews is from Tracy. She has picked some really interesting videos, and I've got a question for her after she does her intro. Go ahead, Tracy.
I'm going to take half an hour to do my intro now. So backrooms, back to backrooms is what we're going to look at this week. And I've picked a selection. I've picked 3 shorts. And basically we are still at this moment in time awaiting the release of the Netflix Backrooms film, which was based on Kane Pixel's astonishing and really surprising success story as perhaps one of the youngest creator directors to actually hit the big time in filmmaking history. This week, though, I thought what we would do is see what the rest of the internet is doing with this meme. Having every now and again over the past 6 months or so seen a few backrooms-themed things pop up on my timeline. I think it would be fair to say, actually, that the creator community has actually gone into backrooms overtime with this. I did a quick search, as I generally do, on the term backrooms, and have a guess how many hits I had on it. Have a guess.
13 million.
Several thousand. Oh, more.
Yeah.
More than 13 million.
20 million results popped up on YouTube alone. I couldn't believe it, actually. The question is, what are they all about? And I suggest you can kind of find backrooms themed absolutely anything you want to. And I mean that, absolutely anything. But I basically this week decided that we would pick a sample of 3 that I particularly liked for different reasons. And I basically wanted to share these with you today. They're all very different. They're all completely different, in fact. I won't revisit the backstory to the backrooms, though, because if somehow you've managed to miss this whole crazy meme, then you can at least catch up with the episode that we did on the preliminary backrooms saga, which we recorded 6 months ago, which I'll put a link to in our show notes. Suffice to say, this month we've managed to pick independently a whole series of films which are kind of nostalgic for one reason or another. Some mostly harping back, in fact, to the 1990s vibe. And, clearly the Backrooms is doing just the same sort of thing. It's this kind of dingy looking cube farm with folks walking around in these hazard suits, getting lost and looking for some sort of monster or whatever it is that they're doing. During that time, when we talked about the game, in fact, or since that time when we first talked about it in February, I think it was, there's been 3 major updates to the game itself. And there's now something like 20 levels in the game plus a VR version.
Wow.
And so I would say, I would preface my review of these sort of 3 films is that they're variously based on those multiplying levels to the game. And I'll put some of the gameplay, a link to some of the gameplay footage that I've found on the show notes as well, so you can kind of see what those levels are for yourself. So my first pick, based on this meme, is a film called Chaos in the Hub, and it's being created by Backrooms merchant was released 1st of August last year, actually. This is a creator who seems to be totally focused on the backrooms lore. This particular film has had over 4 million views. And as I understand it, this particular video includes 9 or 10 of the different levels or sub-levels in the game. And in this backroom story, it's about a guy who falls into a tunnel called the Hub. And you instantly know he's not alone there, although you can't actually see anything. And of course, he's wearing his helmet, so he has to turn his head, and you can hear him breathing in his hazsuit. So he's kind of, heavy panting as he's going down this tunnel. He starts wandering down it and spots some doors, and clearly, these are doors he thinks to escape, but actually, they're doors into various parts of the back room. So the first one he pushes open is just into those dingy offices, which he doesn't want to explore. The second one is into what appears to be the garage level, grayer version of the offices. And he hears something terrible in there, which makes him turn and run back. And clearly now he's being followed or pursued by whatever that was. But he keeps walking, and then he comes to a section where there is no door, but just a grass field, and he can see something horrific in there. And this thing crashes through into the tunnel and pursues him, and he tries to escape, and I won't spoil the rest for you. You can imagine what that is, or maybe not. It's got a bit of a Blair Witch feel to it, I think, in that particular one. So that's the first one. I'll go through all three, and then you can tell me what you thought about all three. Second one, I think, has got a completely different vibe to it for me. This one's called Endless Escalators, and it's been made by Return to Render. And it was released on the 24th of October last year, and so far has been viewed over 6 million times. In this particular story, what you've got is a bunch of hazard inspectors wandering around the back rooms using constant series of escalators that just never get any, well, they don't go anywhere. Nobody knows what they're doing. There's no introduction to the film, and there's no end to the film, which I think is a really interesting way to allude to the humor that is encapsulated in this film. It's actually hilarious. There's great comedy demonstrated right from the minute it begins to the minute it ends, and there's some real fun in jokes with it, and some fantastic comedy timing, I think. It's very reminiscent for me as well of that kind of, they call this the 1990s, but to me, when I first looked at this wasn't 1990s at all. It was 1970s. Do you remember those early shopping malls with all those horrendous escalators that just go on forever? Well, it was very reminiscent of actually being in one of those shopping malls back in those days. Anyway, these guys in this particular film have been in the back rooms for days, as have other teams doing similar inspections. Of course, they're not alone, but mostly they seem to not really know what it is they're doing or where they're going. I think, as one of them quite succinctly puts it, they're totally screwed, except, of course, it needs to be spelt correctly on their inspection sheet, which I thought was brilliantly done. I think the thing is, I get to a point with this when I can't actually tell as I'm viewing it, which I also think is very clever in the way they've done this, but I can't actually tell whether they're traveling up or down on the escalator. And they switch from an upward shot to a downward shot, I think, or maybe it's just an optical illusion in the way that they filmed it. I don't know. It's very cleverly done, I think. Anyway, that's it for that one. And then my last pick is again a completely different take on the back rooms, with a totally different vibe to it. This one is a meme upon a meme. It's called Crab Rave Backrooms Edition, and it's been made by Mad Keanu, and it was released in June last year. It's a backrooms-themed remake of an original video by Noise Storm called Crab Rave, which was set to Monster Cat Instinct's music. Well, when I started looking at this, I had to go back to that original video just to see how different it was. It's very similar, just set in the back rooms. So it's a dance music video starring thousands of crabs and a couple of hazsuit wearing folks and the infamous monster from Kane Pixel's first film, all just living it large in the dingy rooms and forgetting about the horror of it all. It's a lot of fun. I've watched it loads of times. I just can't get over how funny it is. It's a terrible quality film. I mean, I can't tell you how awful it is in terms of the quality of the video itself. I don't know what size it was put on in terms of, you know, it's just fuzzy to look at. Does it matter? I don't think so, actually. I think there was one comment that I saw that summed it up pretty well, actually, which is that it takes a genius and a madman to make a shit post as quality as this. It's racked up 11 million views since it was released last June, and I got to say, it's put a smile on my face every time I've watched it. The original Crab Rave video, which was released actually 5 years ago, is also a lot of fun. And I'll put a link onto that should you want to watch it. And guess how many times that's been viewed? You'll never guess.
75 million.
171 million views.
Holy cow.
Damn.
And actually, that was made in Unreal Engine, which is also quite interesting.
Wow.
Anyway, so there you go. My little update on the Backrooms in all its glory. Just a taster of some of the amazing videos that there are out there creating stuff using this as a meme for whatever it is they're doing. What did you think?
Well, for someone who doesn't like horror
I know.
so much, why did you
That was
pick-
going to be my question right there. Thank you, Damien.
So I read your mind.
I know.
When I saw these, I thought Tracy can't have picked these because I know horror is not your thing. And then I don't know. The whole Backrooms thing is really unsettling. There's something unnerving about it. And the one in the tunnel is a prime example of the horror of this series because you've got the monsters in it. And of course, in the one with the escalators, well, it's not horror in that kind of way because there's no. Well, I mean, I guess there is a little bit, but there's something unnerving about getting on an escalator and you don't see the top or the bottom. You can't see it. It just goes on and on and on. These characters are on it for a long time, going through multiple floors. But you're right with this one. There is the humor. There's that donut, and then there's when the ceiling comes down really low, and the other guy gets down, but he's going up, but he lays with his feet up, which is a really weird choice to do. But I guess maybe that's how bored he was being trapped on this escalator for so long. He thought, why not? And then the dancing crab one, which was no horror in that one at all. That's just hilarious. It's interesting to see how this thing has been taken off and become so popular, but there aren't really any answers to any of this world. It's just kind of make something weird, and if you can make it unsettling and horrific as well in kind of creepy way, go for it. And obviously that's very popular with some of those viewing figures you just mentioned, which I did not expect.
Wow. Yeah.
And now after watching these three, my YouTube feed is now full of backroom videos. So,
Yeah, well, before long, it's not going to be anything else on YouTube, I don't think.
Yeah.
so sorry, Ricky, I stole your question, but
No, I'm glad you answered the question. I just want to hear what Tracy has to say to justify her choice.
I tell you which one I found first, or which one cropped up that made me look at it more, was the Crab Rave. And it totally was. I don't know why. I just sort of thought I'll sit and have a look at this for a minute or two. And, you know, the first bit of tapping, I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then the, you know, drumming and whatnot. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. What else can happen? But it was just such a fun music video that I thought, I didn't realize people were doing stuff that wasn't horror related to it. And then I started having a look for some different kinds of things, because by then loads of stuff, like you said, Damien, loads of stuff had popped up in my feed. And I think the second one I found was the escalators one. And then I found one to do with swimming pools, endless swimming pools. And then the first one that I chose, the Chaos in the Hub, which is a little bit closer to the game and the original lore, I suppose, based more on the original lore. And I like you just said, I was intrigued by just how far this meme has been pushed beyond what it was originally about as a creepypasta thread. And very quickly on the back of that, a game, a really pretty rough looking game, to some fairly sophisticated looking animations, of which I think the second one, Endless Escalators, is a pretty sophisticated looking, very well edited film, and like I said, pretty clever comedy timing, the sort of timing that we saw when we were looking at things like AFK's Talkie Orcs, and the kind of Star Warsy type stuff that they do. Their comedy's quite good as well, which may not be to everyone's taste, but it certainly made me smile. And some of the Has type stuff I thought was quite interesting. So no, it wasn't the horror that I caught onto. It was more what is the meme that's going on here? What are they doing with it? And I think it's just how far can they push it? 20 million videos. I mean, that's nuts, isn't it?
Extraordinary, yeah.
Phil,
did you want to come in?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. It's a long pause. That's bad. Uh-oh.
So you guys we're all old enough to remember the movie Poltergeist, the original Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
Craig T. Nelson,
Yeah.
whatever the young blonde girl was that, they're here. The most interesting and unnerving part of Poltergeist was the first half to maybe 2/3 of the movie, when you didn't really know what was going on, but you knew to be scared. And I feel like that's what I liked about the Backrooms phenomenon, was before anything was revealed. So your imagination did all the work, and something creepy's going on, and maybe something is out there, but you don't quite know what it is. Man, I could live in that. That's the kind of horror that I like. And I feel like that in the Poltergeist analogy, if I liked like the first half of the first Poltergeist movie, I feel like Backrooms is now on Poltergeist 6. Where more than everything that you ever wanted to be said about what's going on in Poltergeist has been revealed, and maybe even the mind changed, or we can't quite agree on. And so now we're revealing what we were wondering was there.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone has their different spin on that. So I think the most effective of these three was that first one. But even so, I found myself, when it came on screen, I had two simultaneous emotions. And one was, whoa, like, oh. And then it was, oh, okay, so now I know. It's just a monster. Okay, so there's just a monster there. And I don't know, maybe I'm weird like that, but like the original movie Alien is the same way.
I think you're absolutely right, Phil.
Everything up until it bursts out of Lance what's-his-name's stomach, that's the scariest part of the movie to me, when they're first exploring on the planet and they find the egg and the face hugger grabs. It's like, oh my God, what's going on here? Fast forward to Alien 4, where Sigourney Weaver is doing a swan dive into lava to kill some baby of something or whatever. It's just like, oh my God, I couldn't give two F's anymore. Okay, so it's aliens. They're going to kill people. We get to hear somebody say, game over, man, game over. It's just like, yeah, game over. So I don't know. It's a strange phenomenon when you're dealing with horror. It seems like this is what we, as in people, movie makers, whether it's Hollywood or whether it's independent, that we try to squeeze every last drop out of something, and something's lost when that happens. So even though something's gained here, and you're right, and this is a huge phenomenon, and I love that there's a lot of people entertained by this, and they want to see different people's visions of what was it that you were so scared about when you first saw the back rooms and you were shown nothing. You know, that was the playground, right? Now the playground is out and everybody's, oh, it's this kind of monster that looks just like something you've seen in a movie, or it's this kind of monster, or it's what happened with Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2, this amazing sci-fi universe. And the most popular type of video was, hey, let's do police comedy with the Combine soldiers and have them exchange witty remarks with each other. And that's fine. It is funny, but it's also like, okay, so we're there. We're just going to recontextualize that into Half-Life 2 or into Star Wars. Remember, there was a video we reviewed about a year ago where the two stormtroopers in the elevator, and it was funny and it was entertaining, but it was also like, yeah, there's really no mystery left in Star Wars. So now it's just going to be a sitcom or this or whatever. So I don't know. I'm not trying to be overly negative, but
I think it's a really
for
good
me,
point.
I feel like I long for the experience of watching that first Backrooms video when it was a creepypasta, you know, or the first view of the game where you didn't see what it was you're supposed to be afraid of. And that will never come back now. Like, there is no more mystery of the back room. Well, the mystery of the Backrooms now is just, all right, so what are people going to skin and come up with and put in there and have a jump scare with? That's it, though. And to me, that's boring.
Well, I've got a question for you then.
This isn't a criticism of any one of the films. The Crab Rave, I mean, it's just not my thing, but you know, that kind of thing gets views, and I think people really invested in this world get more out of that meme than I do. I respect that. That's cool. Some craft went into making it. I happen to think that the video quality was poor on purpose. That's kind of one of the things they do with Backrooms. But yeah, I mean, it's a dancing something video that's always big on the internet. You know, I can take my cup here, and if I can make it dance, I'll get some views, and that's cool. But yeah, that's what I find is what was intriguing and kind of made my synapses come alive about the Backrooms was just that tapping into something I think we've all speculated about at some point, usually when we're younger, of what if there was a whole world behind the mirrors that we can't see, and there's this whole other room. And this is basically just an extrapolation of that notion of the unseen part of the world, and mirrors are what make us think of that. And I had a delightful time thinking of ideas and fantasizing stories about that, whatever, when I was young. And when I first saw the Backrooms, it brought all that back to me, like this sense of, oh, there's just so many wonderful possibilities. And there's something about the fact that we're now making them concrete. They're no longer possibilities anymore. Now they're just something on a screen. I don't know. Am I nuts here? I admire the craft of these videos, but I mourn the loss of the early days of that. But I also don't think there's a solution. I think this is just what we do. Yeah. This is just what we do. As we get so excited, it's like, you know, Georgie with the rabbit, and he just wants to pet it and hold it and call it his own. You know. So I don't know. It's
you know, one reason why I like being with all of you guys is that at some point one of us comes up with this absolute genius idea, and you just did, Phil. That's absolutely what I think, but I hadn't formulated it into an idea or expressed it the way you have. It's exactly right. And I think those people who appreciate the suggested possibilities are becoming fewer and fewer, because we're becoming inured by giving the literal gore, the literal violence, the literal statement of everything. And I agree with you. I don't think there's much more you can say about these movies. I would like to add, though, that Chaos in the Hub was the best of the bunch.
I agree.
And Endless Escalators was okay, although it was a lot like Red versus Blue in
Yeah.
Backrooms. And then Crab Rave, although, hey, I appreciate people who like that. Obviously, there are millions of people who disagree with me, but I couldn't even finish it because it was just too cute for me. I think sometimes it's mood. If you're in a goofy mood, you go, yeah, but it's more like cell phone on the subway. Yeah, that's great. Rather than something that's really engaging, And all of them owe a debt to Kafka because Kafka, as the writer, was the person who created that description of the world as an unknowable place.
Yes.
As a thing that is endlessly funny because it's so unknowable, but you really can't figure it out. You're stuck in a place. A bunch of people are saying you did something and you don't have any memory of doing it, and they say you got to go here and you go there and it's the wrong place. It's this Buster Keaton experience, that over and over again. But I agree with you 100%. When Backrooms was more ambiguous, it was at its best, which is often the case with a lot of great stories. So super comments. Good picks though, Tracy.
Oh, they're great picks.
Fostered a lot of discussion and ideas, and I'm glad you picked them, especially
Ricky,
Chaos in the Hub.
I think that's why, Ricky, that I prefer Kafka to Lovecraft. Even though Lovecraft leaves a lot of unknowns and stuff, he's putting concrete answers to and naming entities for those things that in Kafka are just unanswerable.
Left up in the air.
Yeah. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it quite that way. So
I have a question for you guys then.
Yeah, sure.
Which is so, as we sit here, we're still waiting for the release of this Netflix film into which they're investing quite a lot of money. And that was announced in between which we've got all of these films that do this kind of reveal and play with this meme in every which way you can possibly imagine. What do you think the implications of the way in which this stuff is being consumed might be then for this more Hollywood-based production?
Well, they're going to go for the literal horror. Yeah. They're going to have monsters in it. They're going to have people fleeing monsters, especially women who are scantily dressed fleeing monsters. They're going to go for
hazmat suit. That's what I want to see.
They're going for the money on it, and so they're going to hit all the cliches that you could possibly do.
Yeah, there's two. I have two. My answers to that, Tracy, are like two sides of a coin. It's what I wish they would do, which is stick to the original ambiguity and make kind of a Shining type of movie out of it. And then what they're going to do is they're going to observe all this and it'll be irresistible. It's unfortunate that like in terms of monster movies, Cloverfield comes to mind, the original, and that movie was better before they showed the monster, when it was this found footage that, if you've seen it, I don't know if you've all seen the original Cloverfield. I only watched it like for the first time 6 months ago, and was really engaged until they showed the monster, and then it was still interesting, but now it's just okay, well, all right, so it's a Godzilla type thing doing something, and maybe everybody makes it, maybe they don't, but okay.
You should watch the second one because it's not in the same world. It's just called Cloverfield, and they don't really show
I've heard that. Yeah, I haven't seen the second one yet, but I've heard that about it. Yeah. So I think to answer your question, Tracy, I think it's going to be irresistible.
So you think they'll have queered the pitch for it, basically, or not?
Yeah. I don't know if I know what that means. I'm American.
Well, no, I meant they'll have spoiled. Will people go and watch it because they've consumed that much?
Oh, I see.
So queered the pitch. So
is it planned to be a theatrical release?
I believe. Well,
I think it'll be.
I don't know.
That's questionable.
If it's on Netflix, if it's a Netflix film, they'll probably do that.
If it's straight to streaming, it'll be watched.
I think it'll be watched a lot.
Yeah. If it's theatrical, there'll be a young audience that are interested in it. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Just
did want
for
to,
the sake of, because it is such a popular
Yeah.
thing.
I did want to point out that I thought the POV camera work in the first film, Chaos in the Hub, was extremely well done. Your analogy to Blair Witch is a good one, Tracy. I like the sort of little glitches, the video glitches that occurred during the middle of it. It's
Yeah, they did those just right, didn't they? There was, it wasn't too much. You can overdo that, but
yeah,
I feel like they seasoned that perfectly.
yeah.
Yeah, the glitchy.
That was a wonderful technical achievement in that first film, which was part of the reason why I liked it so much.
It's not just the effect, the glitches though. It's the actual the movement was
Oh, the
perfect
movement's great. Absolutely.
because, as I mentioned when I was talking about it, I had so many other recommendations for videos like this, and I watched another one, and the movement was so over the top that it was actually giving me motion sickness watching
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and I couldn't finish it because of that.
Yeah,
But they
I
got
would be
this just right.
curious. I'd be curious to know the technique there, because it sure doesn't look like that somebody just, you know how we can keyframe cameras in iClone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looked much more human. However it was done, the effect was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great comments. Thank you.
You're very welcome,
Thanks for
and a
the
really
picks.
good pick, Tracy, despite our criticisms of it. It was really enjoyable. That's it. If you have comments about the Backrooms films that Tracy chose, or the Backrooms phenomenon in general, or if you know anything about the Netflix thing that's coming up, contact us at talk@completely.com. We read all three communications that come in each week. Three. Jesus Christ. Also, we have a lot of notes for our show at completely.com, and also a really interesting blog that Tracy does at that location as well. Well, that's it for September. October plans to be quite an interesting month. We've got a lot of good stuff, and we're planning something unique for the 100th episode, which I think is on October 20th. We'll see how that turns out. But that's it. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.